Exploring the unknown, from conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Well, welcome everyone to this very special program. I am your host, Aubrey Batchelor. Sailing this amazing ship of knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. Well, Chris, we have an amazing show planned today for everyone. We're going to delve deep into some ancient history, and we're going to be talking about several fascinating ancient artifacts and ancient mysteries that really, I believe, define the way we know the history books. Some of these objects really and artifacts test what we have learned about history, in my opinion. And if you don't know about these objects, or if you do, you're going to learn some new things. And I think we're going to be able to connect some dots here together and really explore some amazing mysteries. We're going to be talking about what's referred to as oops artifacts, or out of place artifacts. And some of them are very, very strange. Chris, what do you think about oops
Oh
artifacts?
yeah. Some people consider it out of place because they don't know the entirety of the history of our planet. They only know what's been recorded in the past couple thousand years or so. And the cultures on the planet are millions of years old. One seemingly out of place thing that I heard was Mammoth Cave in
Mm,
Tennessee, where it looks like a meeting room, even with a table and chair and everything. But it's something that's so old, the stalactites and stalagmites have all claimed it. Nature's
mm.
claimed it. It was just an old meeting room some galactics created a few million years ago, and it
Cool.
uh, and it turned itself into a cave with water flowing through everything. But it was a meeting room for galactics at one point. That's more of a room than an object, or like a building than an object. Sedona was the same way, where it's nothing but buildings that have just eroded over a very long time, and it was in a very ancient spaceport, is what it was,
Sweet. That's cool.
over the vortexes that exist there. So that's what that is. So those are places that are more mysterious. I mean, we're doing objects this time, but it fits the category.
Oh, it does. It all intermixes in one way or another.
And
Uh,
tools from those time frames too appear in different time frames as well.
and archaeology as a whole has many, many mysteries, and that's what really kind of got me into the weird and strange. Quite honestly, was ancient history and archaeology. That was kind of my stepping stones into the weird and strange. I had some paranormal experiences, and UFO experiences that kind of co-aligned in several years' time alongside of my interest with archaeology. But it was my initial interest in these ancient mysteries that kind of led me to where I am today, or kind of sparked my interest into these other fields of research, I guess. And these oops artifacts are, like I said, very interesting ones to talk about, and we'll get into it here. I This is a pretty good article from uh, weburbanist.com, and it is by an article by S.A. Rogers. This picture right here, this is one of my favorite hieroglyphs from Egyptian lore and evidence for hieroglyphs. It's called the helicopter hieroglyph, and as you can see, there's writings here that depict a helicopter, what looked like to be a helicopter, what could be a tank, what could be possibly like a spacecraft of some kind, an airplane looking thing, and some insects over here, animals. But the theory is, when I learned about this in archaeology, the cover story is that just different rains throughout the time ended up writing different messages, and it ended up looking like this, like the needle in the haystack story, winning lottery ticket, in my opinion. Either it was a fake or it's genuine, and I believe this is genuine, and to me it's pretty cool just to look at. But it can be hard to resist the allure of a mysterious object found in a context that doesn't seem to make rational sense, suggesting that proof of time travelers, lost civilizations, or alien visitors You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist or a cryptozoologist to marvel at a bizarre computer-like device that dates back to ancient Greece, or a 2,000-year-old battery found outside Baghdad in the 1930s. So-called OOPs, or out-of-place artifacts, also known as OPARTs, are often said to baffle scientists and conspiracy theorists, suggesting that scientific efforts to identify their origin and purpose willfully ignore potentially controversial explanations outside the mainstream. After all, it's true enough that science is constantly evolving, and we still don't have the answers to many of life's mysteries. But imagine how everyday objects from our own times might be misinterpreted thousands of years from now if information about how they're used doesn't survive, and a lot of artifacts become out of place because their original context might have provided important clues, but the object was moved and that context is lost. And when I was reading that, it made me think. It's true, information that we learn throughout the ages can get lost and forgotten. And, my uncle that has passed now once told me, excuse me, I thought it was crazy when he told me that he had thought, I was probably 12 at the time, but he believed that he thought that human civilization had raised up to a level of high technological capabilities and high intellect only to destroy ourselves. And, some of these out of place artifacts could suggest that, and the more that I've learned with alternative archaeology study, I think Uncle Jerry was really onto something. I wish I could have a conversation with him now, but can't do that. But when we're so far removed from the original circumstances in which a historical object was created, it's easy to let all sorts of things cloud our conclusions about what those objects represent. Wishful thinking, eh? How do you explain a sarcophagus lid that appears to show a spaceship, primitive sculptures that look like airplanes, or cave drawings resembling astronauts in spacesuits? Some proponents of ancient astronaut or ancient alien theories pose that intelligent ETs beings visited Earth thousands of years ago and made contact with humans, potentially influencing their technology. And how many UFO stories, alien stories do we have that correlate with human activity? There's thousands probably, with ancient, depictions and ancient journals that have been found, and just stories that have passed and things that are happening now. There's too much going on for there not to be anything going on like it's portrayed, in a way, in a sense. But these visitors may have been misinterpreted as gods, the theories muse. The supposed proof of these theories lies in drawings like the petroglyphs of Val Camonica, Italy, which depict figures with helmets around their heads that could just as easily be ceremonial headdresses or have some other more down-to-earth explanation. Ancient astronaut proponents also cite artifacts like a Mesopotamian cylinder seal that sort of looks like a spaceship, since it's just sort of hovering there, although the first use of linear perspective wasn't seen in art until the late 14th century. So the position of objects on a field of an ancient composition doesn't necessarily mean anything significant. So there could be misrepresentations, but that's just, a fact of life. There are things that are misrepresented, but there's a lot of things that are genuine also. And here's some others here, but I want to roll down.
Yeah, these are all representations of time travel, like that one of King Pakal, for instance. I found out he was a time traveler in the Mesoamerica from a future time frame. Like in that one of the helicopter, I found out was people viewing the future, but also clashes with different time frames. Like Da Vinci, for instance, he did the same identical thing, where when he went missing in the cave for a couple of years, he actually skimmed the timelines and was able to see what was ahead. And he saw that he contributed in that fashion by documenting it. This is pretty much the same way where people time travel, went ahead and then went back and depicted, but also saw high technology that existed not only from Atlantis, but from some of these alien cultures that were coming about. You also have agents from, like, say, Montauk and other government time travel programs that have gone back to these times, like the highly intelligent people of the past. This is actually quite interesting. Like for the Great Pyramid in Giza, for instance, you had where it was extremely high technology in the Atlantean period. It had quantum computing technology, and it was basically an energy power plant. Later on in history, there were slightly less advanced humans that turned it into a hydrogen power plant, and there was this hydrogen explosion later on in history. Atlantis had a nuclear explosion and a flash freeze, but that turned eventually the Egyptian desert to green glass at that time. But it's called Tektite now. But you have later on in history, some people tried to reclaim the pyramid as a power plant, turned it into a hydrogen-based one. That's why you have the liquid basins underneath it, like all these basins that are underneath it, and there should have been a metal rod going up through it, but people have surmised that archaeologists, some ancient alien theorist archaeologists have surmised that the Egyptians later on melted it down, but because it was metal, but and made weapons and armor and stuff out of it. But that's how that happened with those hieroglyphs. It's essentially the same thing like what Da Vinci was doing.
There was an ancient metal said to be a aurichalcum. Is that what it's called, if I remember correctly?
What did you say it was called?
A aurichalcum, I believe. It was supposedly found on the island of Atlantis. I may be mispronouncing it, but let me see if I can find that real quick. That fits into, I consider an oops artifact, a weird metal. I haven't talked about it forever. I actually seen an article in Archaeology magazine when I was subscribed to it back in the day, and I got a pile of old archaeology magazines lying around somewhere that I should try to gather up and grab it.
We should crack into those and see. There's probably information that's been redacted now in this time frame. So
I bet. Let me just oh, there it is. Hey, Google, you listening to me? Look at that. Aurichalcum. So I was right. Aurichalcum. Metal found. There was an article. It was found.
That's interesting.
Yeah, this is the article that I read back in the day. Similar. Aurichalcum, the lost metal of Atlantis, may have been found on a shipwreck off Sicily. Mysterious red gold metal ingots linked to the mythical civilization of Atlantis have been recovered from an ancient shipwreck. And this article is from news.com by Jamie Seidel. Mysterious metal ingots linked to the mythical civilization of Atlantis have been recovered from an ancient shipwreck off the coast of Sicily. Archaeologists last month recovered a wealth of ingots. Is that how you ingots? How do you what is
ingots? Yeah,
ingots.
Ingots.
Ingots. Ingalata of an unusual golden alloy from the wreck sitting in about 3 meters of water. 300 meters off the coast of Gela in southern Sicily. Also recovered from the wreck, which sank some 2,600 years ago, were the two Corinthian war helmets and containers once used to hold precious scented oils. But it is the rough lumps of metal still shining with red and gold hues after 2 millennia on the sea floor that has excited the archaeological world. It could be aurichalcum, the mythical lost metal of Atlantis. But in 2014, the metal returned to reality with the discovery off the wreck of Sicily. And that's the article that I read in my archaeological magazine that I was referring to. In 2015, 39 roughly cast lumps of unusual red gold metal were recovered from the sea floor. Divers uncovered another 47 ingamata ingots from the mud last month. And I just thought it was brilliant. And I think that's an amazing find. I mean, that if that isn't an oops artifact, I don't know what was. A mythical metal that was only talked about in lore that's found in a shipwreck. That suggests to me that it could have came from Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis. To me, whoa, baby.
Aurichalcum. Yeah, I've heard this red gold metal before. I just didn't know the name of it till you said it. Yeah, and I believe it's an extreme superconductor of different energies. To see Atlantis, that artifact there that you were showing, the grid formation, this actually makes sense to me what I know about Atlantis. Whereas it was said when I found out when I looked back on Atlantis to some of the high technology they were using, they had this mysterious metal woven into like calcites and quartzes to be able to collect energy and information as people came and went. Kind of like how we have Big Brother today. So they had something similar where people would step on the ground and it would actually activate this grid that would go over the ground, and then it would collect the information into a big computing tower. Essentially how we would have to have passports and IDs and everything. People could just come and go, and it would read their emotional states, all of it. And so this metal, when somebody would step on it, it would take on that information. And that's interesting how it was in that grid like formation like that, because that I've always seen, looking back on Atlantis, people would step on the ground. I saw this metal taking the information automatically. So yeah, I've heard of that red gold metal before. They've even had it in some video games too. So like in the Elder Scrolls, they have it in the Dwemer artifacts in the Elder Scrolls, where they use this. They said there's this mysterious metal that's like this red gold color. So they use Ringelcomb in the games too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it has game lore too, that it's being used as an object.
Yeah, they have mysterious metals. They have orcanium and stuff like that in there. What the orc people use, it says greenish metal, but a Ringelcomb and Dwarven or Dwemer metal seem to be fairly close. First, I thought they were representing brass, but it was too reddish in that. So that's a Ringelcomb they're showing in the game.
Interesting. Well, let me go back here real quickly. So I thought that was interesting. I wish. Oh, there's a nice picture.
Oh yeah, that's what they made it look like in the Elder Scrolls, the Dwemer metal. That's out there. They say that the people in it, the Dwemer, are very similar to like how what some of the High Atlantean type of people were like.
Pretty damn beautiful metal in my mind there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a hold of some of that for my pieces. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
This, they say here, turns out Ringelcomb may not be as exotic as an ancient tale suggests, though it was almost certainly mysterious to many of the jewelers who formed it and sold it. Studies have shown the metal ingonata, ingots. I don't know what the hell it is about that word that's so tricky to ignots to be made of about 75 to 80% copper, 40 to 20% zinc, and a scattering of nickel, lead, and iron. The process of its production was likely to have been a tightly held secret. And master jewelers back in the day, if they're working with these ancient metals, to me, and speaking of Oops artifacts, like how about lost trades? I know jewelry making isn't, but jewelry making with this metal has been, I guarantee you. And it takes a whole new skill set, craftsmanship probably, and that's the kind of stories I like that might be attached with objects like or metals like this as well. But let's head back. There's your little tidbit information for the day with a Ringelcomb. We'll head back on over here, and we'll just look at a few different ones here. But I want to talk about a fake one. This one, I remember this one caused controversy. I remember seeing it back in the day. It doesn't that look like a little Nokia cell phone?
Yeah, it looks like a Nokia. Yeah.
And this is interesting.
Where somebody tried to fake a cell phone.
To the surprise of pretty much no one, a lot of supposed out-of-place artifacts are just forgeries and hoaxes. When images of a clay object resembling a modern mobile phone emerged online in 2015, along with the explanation that it was discovered during a dig in Austria, eager theorists were quick to declare it obvious evidence of a time travel piece. As it turns out, the Babylonokia, you get it, like Babylonia. Babylonokia is a sculpture by German artist Karl Weingartner. And then, so on the back side of that, I thought that was interesting. But on the flip side of that, we have a very interesting one that a lot of people know about. It's called the Antikythera mechanism. What is believed to be an ancient Greek analog computer used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses. The device is discovered among wreckage off the coast of the island of Antikythera, so another shipwreck find, from Arikocam to the Antikythera mechanism. And, when it comes to out of place artifacts, and when it comes to archaeology, and when it comes to a lot of history, the sea is just a playground for, everything to be discovered. I love space exploration as much as anybody, but look at all the sea that still needs to be gandered at and looked at and discovered, and things that remain unseen and forgotten about and not found. But the device was discovered in shipwreckage, and it dates between 87 and 205 BCE, and consists of a complex clockwork mechanism with at least 30 bronze gears. As far as we know, this is no hoax or misinterpretation. It's certainly a lot more advanced than most of the surviving artifacts from that place and time, but makes use of contemporary Greek astronomy and mathematics. Humans of ancient Greece and roughly concurrent societies might not have had cars, air conditioning, or Wi-Fi, but their technology was often more advanced than many of us imagine. All sorts of things could have been developed, used, and then forgotten as civilizations rose and fell, like my uncle had suggested. And I'm believing it more and more with the information that I learn and the things that are discovered on a daily basis. So much of all that important context disappeared over time. Archaeology is a puzzle, and without all the pieces, we're just often guessing, which is why it's important to note that scientific consensus can shift and change too. Few conclusions are fully set in stone, so to speak. And as we never know when we might receive new information, that changes our perceptions. And just like they say here, I must elaborate off this. They say here, archaeology is a puzzle. With all the pieces, we're just often guessing. A lot of times I discovered, you think of many mysteries, think of, it's easy to get the edge pieces in a puzzle, and then it's hard to get the center pieces. Well, I've started believing a lot of our alternative archaeology, because our archaeology will lie just like any other organization will. Oh, yeah. And, you got to do a lot of your own research for yourself. And that's where I think, think of the puzzle as where the inner pieces are filled, but the outer pieces aren't filled.
Oh yeah, where you're getting things that are out of context, like bits of information out of context, like that device you just showed. I believe that was a calibration device to calibrate like a earthly position or some kind of coordinates or something like that. And that goes back to almost like the Dwemer and Elder Scrolls again, where they had this high gear type technology, and they just mixed that device with like the Oringocum type of thing for that game sequence of the people in the game, or the species in the game. But that device, yeah, that's definitely out of place, showing like the hydrogen energy device in Egypt, and showing evidence of those tanks that are under the pyramid. That device is showing evidence of people that had higher brain power and higher engineering skills and technology, the same as say the Great Pyramid, or even the ones that converted it to a hydrogen reactor. So it's essentially the same difference. If you look in Christopher Dunn's work about the pyramid, where he was able to show that there was evidence that it was converted to a hydrogen reactor, because he's an engineer, he knew what tools were used on what, and he was able to show that like even the mysterious artifacts, the little spheres that they use for carving out like big bowls and stuff like that, showed that the edges were too perfect on the bowls. They would have required a bunch of them that were microscopic.
There's a lot of mysterious spheres that are found throughout the world that are perfectly spherical, perfectly crafted, perfectly cut, perfectly marbled, perfectly whatever craftsman was working on it. And, many of them have been suggested that we can't replicate with today's technology. Well, how in the hell did they do it? That's yet another suggestion where I kind of believe that it's possible to where humans have built ourselves up only to eliminate ourselves. It's just a theory, which everything out there is just a theory. Don't forget that. Big scientific field and everything, the theory of this, the theory of that, this is a theory, this theory.
Just like Atlantis, it said that the whole original mythos behind it was that the people became so decadent and so full of themselves, they destroyed themselves. But it was really the Orions that were influencing them from a distance to become that way. And they were accentuating their some of their negative tendencies, kind of like Lucifer in the biblical myth, and more accentuating people's negative desires and such. It was essentially along the same lines. Yeah.
Well, so does the toilet paper roll down or does it roll up? Does it roll down or does it roll up?
Or it is essentially both. The toilet paper is in a quantum state at that point.
Well, I think we all end up just having to wipe our ass anyhow, don't we?
Exactly. That's essentially it. No matter what these beings did, we have to wipe our own ass. So there you go. Yeah.
So the basis of the story: learn when you're being manipulated, learn when you're being deceived.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
know
that
when you're
even
being
goes
deceived,
for history, learning from some of this stuff,
learn what your ancestors have done and how they've been tricked, and don't be tricked the same way. Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. So
you're damn right. And I'm a firm believer that we're repeating it right now.
no,
I like I've been saying last time, go to the last episode, we were saying, I believe a lot of people, we're done playing pandemic. People are done playing pandemic. That's the best way that I can put it. Done playing
exactly.
pandemic.
They're done playing pandemic. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer history is repeating itself. What happened 100 years ago, pandemic, world war, recession, everything. Only now we live in a world that's so interconnected, more so than ever, that it never slows down. Never, ever, 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 not 1 second. And what happens is it makes things happen quicker. And so I don't know what's going to happen or take place. I want to.
And also, history is definitely repeating itself, because they're taking aspects of the Black Death history and replicating them and turning them into the scamdemic as well.
Yeah, scamdemic, pandemic.
That's why it's so important to know history, because what they're replicating is part of the narrative as well. The same thing goes with the bad aliens, and also the same thing goes with the lost artifacts. If where they come from, that your history has been a lot more robust and a lot more lucrative than you understood.
Oh yeah, follow the money trail. What vested interest is there? Money. And when you sniff that out and you can find that, you'll find the truth, probably. But I believe corporations are there to make money, but at the same time, we're getting off topic, but I guess not really. History led into today, so
exactly,
or whatever the hell happened back then led into today. But here, I want to go back. Here's one of my favorite oops artifacts, and it actually happened in the grand old USA. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I love you, baby. The London Hammer out of London, Texas. Very interesting artifact. And this is from historicmysteries.com, an article by Jim H. Discovery of the London Hammer in June 1936 or 1934 by some accounts. Max Hahn, 1897 to 1989. So he lived a gloriously long life. And his wife, Emma, were hiking along Red Creek near London, Texas. It was there that they discovered an artifact that seemed completely out of place. What they found was a unique piece of wood protruding from a rock concretion. When the rock was broken by their son in 1947, it revealed an iron hammer with a wooden handle. The artifact would gain the world's attention when Carl Baugh, a creationist who purchased the artifact in 1983. The London Hammer, or the London Artifact, as some call it, was promoted by Baugh as a monumental pre-flood discovery. Additional curiosity was generated when in a 1985 report from the Creation X Nile dated the rock formation encompassing the hammer as 400 to 500 million year old strata. So this rock is encompassed in this 400 to 500 million year old strata. The wood's getting to be so old that it's starting to turn to coal here. You see it? And so that suggests tools were being used way before tools were supposed to be being used.
But see, that shows our civilization is far older. Before the Orions invaded the system about 500,000 years ago, there were people on this planet for millions and millions of years, varying levels of different civilizations, and other beings, not just what we know of as humans, but different galactics that came and went. There's even also some bluffs that you see that are sheared off that those were ancient tree stumps. That's how big those trees were, that the galactics mined them. So also there's also time travel involved. Like say a miner back say in the 1900s or late 1800s dropped a hammer somewhere, it fell through a portal and went back about 5 or 6 million years, and landed in a rock strata that encased it. That's what I'm thinking. That's also part of it too, because there's so many portals on this planet that lead to different time frames, different eras, different universes, different dimensions. So people have fallen through that. So we go back to the missing people, as we said last time. But this is more like it will be like an object that went back through time as well. And so it's all of the above of what I've said. And I've heard of objects. Like I've heard of people finding mason jars that are thousands of years old, and it was made by the company that exists now, the Ball Mason Jar. Oh, yeah. And they found one that was thousands.
They own this aluminum can I'm drinking out of too. Let me see. Most aluminum cans.
Yeah, and people have found artifacts that fell back through time portals. And some of that's attributed to mistakes and oopses made by Montauk and various time traveling operations, where as they're attempting to open one portal and through like a butterfly effect opens a bunch of them. Some people fall through, some artifacts fall through, pieces of houses fall through, and they end up back in time too. Yeah.
Well, crazy. I would not want that to happen to me. That's where, like going back to our missing 411 episode, portals, what the hell might be popping in and popping out, objects.
Temporal sinkholes,
people.
Basically. Yeah.
Whole houses, whole world eventually in a black hole.
Oh, yeah. And they end up somewhere else or in a parallel universe or something. Yeah. Temporal sinkholes, you could almost think of some of them as. Yeah, it was a supposed accident / experiment when they did the Montauk project. Some things open in different spots and suck objects and people into. So yeah, I
think I'd rather be attacked by a shark. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have something with teeth.
I shouldn't say that. I'm going to be swimming in the ocean next week. I don't wish that upon myself.
No.
Rather be sucked into a black hole.
Practical jokes on people in the ocean too. You might get some thoughts out there of Murr wanting to send a shark at you, but it's just an idle threat.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Well, the hammer, it's 6 inches long with a diameter of 1 inch. The metal has been identified as consisting of 96.9 or 96.6% iron, 2.6% chlorine, and 0.74% sulfur. Believers point out that this hammer has not rusted since its discovery over 60 years ago. This is certainly a unique blend of metallurgy, which some claim to be a long lost technology of ancient man. And see, I'm getting excited again, similar to a Rickelcum. Metal craftsmanship, all these things that ancient talents and recipes, metallurgy, metal recipes, like we talked about the Voynich manuscript back in the day, certain alchemical components that may have been lost with time. There could be a lot of amazing things that have just been completely forgotten about. But so the mystery begins. What is a hammer doing embedded in such ancient rock? And what does this mean about the age of mankind, since man was not supposed to exist for a few 100 million years? Controversy? As with any mystery and grand claim, all the evidence needs to be presented before the truth can finally be revealed. The discovery of the Lunar hammer still leaves us with a lot of questions, and there are still many inconsistencies that prevent the scientific community from confirming this find. Also, the oldest known artifact created by man. So that's an interesting little token that it can get. First of all, there are conflicting reports as to where the object was actually located in the surrounding rocks. And there is no photographic evidence of the object prior to being disturbed. One report states that the hammer was embedded in a rock formation dating from the Cretaceous period, 65 to 135 million years ago. But the other accounts state that Mr. Hahn found the hammer bearing nodule near these surrounding rocks. And, well, sorry he didn't have his cell phone back in the day to fucking capture a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. You never know. Eventually, you're going to find an actual Nokia that's sitting on a rock somewhere too.
I can tell you from just weird things happening to you. The last thing on your mind is to get your camera out and take a picture. Your just mind takes over. Your flight or interest spike, what I call it, takes over. And then you get your phone out, and some of the time it's too late.
Oh yeah, yeah. You run to go get your phone, and the thing is over with. What you're looking at is over with. So yeah, you want to be able to stand there and kind of take it in and look at it. And people always say, like you said, why didn't you get at least a blurry picture of it? It's like, well, I didn't have my phone on me at the time. Well, now I have a trail cam, and I carry my phone all over the damn place if I'm outside the house. So it's like the trail cam. I noticed some activity in our house stopped. So if you try to go observe something, it will stop it. Just like my mother and Laverne had something that was eating Sammy's food, their little dog's food in the house, and they found some of Sammy's food stashed behind their couch. There was a pile of it behind the couch. They knew it was some kind of elemental. They put a trail cam out, all activity stops. So sometimes observing an activity will fundamentally change it in some fashion. So that's why you don't always think of having a camera, because you want to sit there and look at it how it actually is. And people don't think of it at the time. They just want to keep looking at whatever is happening, or whatever artifact they're finding, or what have you. But back to artifacts, though, yeah, you're going to find like an old camera or an old phone or something embedded in a rock one of these days, which I don't doubt they probably have found it, but the military and corporations have probably already confiscated them, like they did with giant bones and stuff like that. So more than likely, there's a lot more of these oops artifacts that have slipped through the cracks, that haven't slipped through the cracks, that are in some storage room somewhere, that have been confiscated. I know they have them in some things in vaults. The Vatican is one of them, where they have all the old
archives.
All the old archives, yeah. Library of Alexandria, so they say Caesar destroyed it. He wouldn't have been that stupid. He would have taken all of it.
I also thought, what might be hidden other than just dead bodies in the Paris catacombs, the tombs where you can, that's a mysterious place in itself right there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last time, where it was an opening to Agartha down in that down in the earth down that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the devil's pitchfork down there, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, and reptilians galore down in those tunnels. So yeah, I can see where all the dead people came from. So yeah.
If you wouldn't become a real life vampire, that might be the place to go too.
Yeah, that'd be another good topic for us to cover for the audience, is vampires and vampire mythology. So yeah.
Hey, that'd be a good Halloween episode next year.
Yeah, this is coming up Halloween. Yeah, that would be a great one. I've learned a lot more about the subject. So yeah, especially here in Arizona. So yeah,
and we'll play dress up too. Costume.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah. Well, who's already excited for Halloween? It's only 8 months away. So
yeah, it's likely it's still February, and we're already talking about Halloween. So you can see, folks, what holiday we favor that way. So.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Then the 4th of July, baby. God bless America.
Exactly.
All right, let me get back here real quick. I want to talk about one more. And it's a very interesting one. It's the Piri Reis map. And this is an article from allthatisinteresting.com. And it's by Katie Serena. Drawn on a gazelle skin parchment, the Piri Reis map is based on about 20 other maps, some of which were created by Christopher Columbus. In 1773, explorer James Cook passed through the Antarctic Circle for the first time. Cook and his crew discovered a land that had until then remained a mystery. While this expedition remains the official first discovery of the continent, a map was discovered in 1929 that suggests otherwise. The chart was originally discovered in Istanbul, Turkey, while German theologian Gustav Diesmann was cataloging the contents of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace's library. He and the palace director came across bundles of maps and charts hidden within piles of disregarded materials. He quickly realized the importance of this find and brought it to an expert. Immediately, it was identified as the Piri Reis map, named for the medieval cartographer Piri Reis, who signed the bottom. Even more interesting, however, was that the map seemingly identified along the unusual land masses. There was another one, Antarctica. However, the continent had only been discovered 200 years earlier. So what was it doing on a map from the 1513? And, A map this old, as detailed as it is portrayed to be, that is a huge mystery in my mind. But in 1513, Ottoman Turkish admiral, geographer, and cartographer Perry Rees created a map of the world as it was as known up until that point. Perry claimed in an inscription that the chart was based on about 20 other maps in Portuguese, Spanish, and Arabic, and including some drawn by Christopher Columbus of the New World, CC, and the NW. In 1517, Perry presented the Perry Rees map to the Ottoman Sultan Selim I, along with several other maps and charts. At that point, the Sultan believed it to be one of the most complete maps in the world due to the fact that it was based on multiple other charts. An inscription on the bottom reads, "From 8 Jeffreys," or Jeffreys of that kind. I'm not even going to read that. People can read it if they want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. The Perry Rees maps are actually quite fascinating because of the fact that it shows Antarctica's actual landmass minus the ice. And the only way we were able to see what it looked like under the ice was through like LiDAR type of technology, satellite technology, to like basically take the ice away, and it matched the Perry Rees map perfectly. So, or nearly perfectly.
It's a very interesting map, and look how detailed it is for the time that it was supposedly come from. It's interesting as can be. I can't even. Kilubu, in the western region of China is where it must have been found.
Oh, that's interesting. How this shows that there were other cultures and civilizations that were not necessarily recorded. Like somebody obviously went there when there was no ice. That would have had to be in knowledge from pre-Atlantean time frames.
Yeah,
because they showed pictures of ships on there, and Antarctica was a piece of Atlantis, and Atlantis was known as the biggest seaport. So essentially spaceport too, but seaport with concentric rings. The Antarctica was a piece of Atlantis, or a good chunk of it. So them showing that without the ice on it shows either they remote viewed it, or somebody either went there through time travel, or they passed it on from the Atlantean history. So that'd be exactly how they would know where those things were supposed to be placed at that time.
Interesting. The Perry Rees map is drawn on gazelle skin, like I said, measuring 35 by 24 inches. The map is currently in pieces, but the surviving ones show different pieces of the world as they appeared to cartographers in 1513. Along with most of the unusual pieces of land, the Perry Rees map also shows one more interesting thing. Along the bottom section, a map appears to show the northern coast of Antarctica. However, according to almost all historians, the continent hadn't been discovered until 1733. Even more interestingly, the continent is connected to South America and doesn't seem to be covered in ice, so making it more explorable and more capable. And this is, back in the day, baby. One historian, Captain Lorenzo W. Burroughs of U.S. Air Force captain with a background in cartography, claims that the depiction of Antarctica is accurate and that it looks like the continent before it was covered in ice. And to me, need to say no more. With all the detail of it and the timeline of it, it highly suggests that there was exploration going on way before that there was supposed to be exploration going on in Antarctica. And, with the Pangea theory and the continental drift, looks like, they've drifted apart since these maps could have been created. Pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things have happened. Even in the 1500s, there was a report of the moon being split in half. Essentially at that time, somebody reported that later on in the 1500s, the moon being split in half and it glowing orange on the inside. And I found out that was a galactic battle going on at that time. And also, not too far after that was the lost colony of Roanoke. So, so there's a lot of things that fit into this, with looking through time, other dimensions, and also battling galactics too. So it was essentially kind of around in the same 100-year period, essentially. Yeah, we went out to the colony of Roanoke. We looked. We went out there, and the energy is just plain weird out there. So it's
I
fairly
have some
creepy.
sad news too about that trip. The witch cup you got me took a tumble.
So yeah.
Down one.
Oh man.
Down one. It's all right. It was my fault. I was a dumbass. I was like, you dumb idiot. I just lifted my hand like this, and my hand just barely caught it, and it went down. It was empty, so I didn't spill any coffee. But
oh yeah, we've broken stuff like that too. We've had things thrown off the counters at us too. So yeah, we have some witch cauldron mugs from that trip and everything. But yeah, Roanoke was creepy. Salem was interesting. I will say that. You know, we went all the way up to Salem. That's an interesting place. If anybody wants to go there, that is if Massachusetts hasn't gone all woke. So
yeah,
yeah, this is
true.
This is interesting. Interesting. A topic. There's one other artifact I did remember. I don't have a picture of it. It looks like a machine foot, and I saw this on Ancient Aliens. Whereas they're surmising that this was a lander foot, like for a probe or something that landed, like how we have our moon lander and everything. It looks very similar to the moon lander's feet, but it's petrified, and it's made out of stone, and the edges are too sharp on it to have been carved by anybody. You don't see tool marks or anything, but it has a little hole in it where you could see like a hinge where it moved, like it was like a landing foot. And that's what I kept seeing. It was from a lander, and it must have gotten caught somewhere, and they or broke or something, and they just let it stay there.
Interesting.
Yeah, like we break something, like we'll break a piece of equipment or something, and we end up leaving part of it somewhere, and that's essentially what it was.
It happens.
Yeah, like your cup, you'll probably find a piece of it behind a counter or something at some point. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah,
eventually, probably.
Yeah,
that's happened a few times, and it's kind of like whenever you throw something and it lands in a certain way, and you can never replicate it.
Yeah, where like I've dropped like tubes and stuff like that and sticks, and they'll just land like that. Yeah. And you never couldn't replicate that if you tried. So yeah.
And see, that's and we can intermix all these episodes and everything together. It's synchronicity, just like how some of these artifacts could be just dropped, and everything happens to keep them there until they're discovered. I guess to sum it all up in a quick sentence, everything that happens until it is found again. That's why, like we talked before, I really want to get back into metal detecting. I shouldn't have said that publicly, because I want all the spots in the entire world of myself to metal detect. Every spot in the entire world I'm going to cover. Nobody can metal detect but me.
And you'd be surprised the objects that get caught in weird places, weird crevices, even stuff that's part of regular history comes up in weird spots. Why not stuff that's unknown happen the same way?
Yeah. How about that for a little tantalizing tidbit? Maybe you should start metal detecting. Perhaps even you might discover the next oops artifact. Oops, I accidentally discovered it. Oops, I did it again.
I could hear Isaac in the background going like that. So yeah, Isaac, who's coming in? Is it just you, or is it somebody else?
Well, you might as well bring him on in.
Okay, yeah. Let's see here. I'm using a different stone today. I left my normal crystal outside. This is a piece of rose quartz. Nice. Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of stones, you should show him your new stone.
Oh yeah. This I'll turn off the virtual background.
Are you still selling on Etsy?
Yeah, and I'm going to sell these fairly soon. I'm not going to say what's in them, folks, but I call these moon shungite.
They're very gorgeous.
And these will fight magic and artificial intelligence and 5G radiation. So,
and I don't mean to be goofy or anything, but Chris and I really did not intend on wearing the same colored shirts today.
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah,
And his moon rock is similar to what our shirts are colored.
yeah, it's very similar.
Pretty
like his
calming. Look at
attitude.
that. Everybody
Yeah.
take a gander at that. To me, that it just, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, and this was something that it wasn't created by accident. I was trying to create something, and it ended up looking better than what I thought it was going to. So, and all the ingredients were absorbed into that, and it actually clears a room fairly quickly. So, of negative activity. So I'll turn this thing back on, and we can do this. There we go. All right. Okay, Isaac, it's you this time again. Yeah. Okay. All right. Even though the energy is kind of choppy here, let's see. Since he's talking from the edifice behind me, it's easier to just bring him in. So, okay. Yeah, through this new crystal, Isaac, if you can. Yeah, I know. Ooh, boy, there's some negative resistance. Wow. Getting hit with certain energies, you get cotton mouth very quickly. So, all right, Isaac. Yes, I know you have to make it a quickie. I understand. Yes, I know, not the other kind. I understand. Okay, all right. All right. Yes, I know Aubrey would get it. Yes, he understands. Okay. All right. Let's see. He's in pervert mode at the moment, so let's see.
Yay.
Yes, you're damn right. I'm always in pervert mode, you see. So yes, this is indeed Isaac, and everybody knows exactly what I'm into. Remember that, folks. In this, these mysterious artifacts, these oops artifacts are quite fascinating. He is correct about the time travel instances or oopses, very much as if you would trip on, say, a crack in the street or on your stair or something, you take a tumble. Think about if something took a tumble and fell into a gutter or into a hole or a crevice and gets lost for many decades. Even within your own home, you drop change in your couch, you see. It is very much in the same premise for some of these time holes. This goes back to the missing people, and this goes back to the synchronicities, as you've said. Very interesting that you've linked all of this up already. Also, such as the hammer, for instance, there are two things going on here. One, yes, one thing did fall back through time, but also two, things were improved upon in the time where it fell back through, whereas new metals were added to that design. So, and added to the wood, you see. Wood would have been gone within the time frame that was said it came from, except if it was petrified. Think of also you dropping a coin down in your the crevices of your car. You can't reach it for quite some time unless somebody were to remove a seat or what have you. This is exactly what happened with that hammer. It was dropped, fell into a time hole, went back through time, and they added different metals to it. The oricum metal, as you were telling, oricum metal is actually very, very interesting. That does have its Atlantean origins and is also compared to, as he said, the Dwemer metal in Elder Scrolls. They used that metal everywhere in their craft, in their buildings, everywhere. And yes, this was the network that bound Atlantis to the Akashic grid. And with that, when Atlantis was detached from this, part of it drifted into other dimensional states. Some of it shattered through time, and some of it froze, and some of it exploded, you see. This is where you get the explosion of green glass in Egypt. The explosion was so immense, it turned the sand to glass. This is what happened within history. That and some of your other mysterious objects are related to either bits of time travel or that UFO foot that he was talking about, or lander foot, was something that did indeed break off and bonded with parts of the Earth over a period of time and was discovered. All other parts of it have deteriorated. Some bits of metal and some bits of what you would see as different ceramics and plastics were also part of it that disappeared, you see. So these are definitely you would consider them to be mysterious objects and oops objects, because the civilizations that had some of them are no longer exist. They happened so long ago, very much as he was saying about Sedona, Arizona, that all you see is the stone that is left. So I can go into questions now if you like.
And speaking of stones, I just have one main one that you can answer today.
Hmm.
It includes, or it's about our last oops artifact of the day. It will be the Dropa stones.
Ah.
The Dropa stones have an extra terrestrial origin, supposedly, and it's a very interesting way to end. And please elaborate off of it.
These are quite interesting. Yes, they were found
Here,
in China, as
I'll
I
show a
recall.
picture of them while you elaborate.
Yes, they were found in China, as I recall, as various other places. They record different times in history of both good and bad occurrences, very much like how your crystal skulls were supposed to have done. Even though that was AI oriented, some of the species that added to these Dropa stones added their own versions of history and their own embedded, implanted consciousnesses as well. So within those stones can also be the essence of someone that existed many, many centuries ago that can actually stare back at you. Very much how I speak through an edifice, think of it very much like that, but in more of an AI construct. And that mysterious metal of Atlantis is also involved in this to some extent, because it's a very similar technological base where it can absorb the different dimensional states of people. This is what the stone technology of, say, your Stonehenge was all about, you see. It is of a very similar take and breath, whereas there can be higher vibrations, lower vibrations, and all in between. And also where something can watch people through an artifact. This may seem asinine compared to what it actually is, but what makes this interesting is these things could fly through space, very much like small spaceships, and they can be placed on the Earth to observe, very much like an eyeball. Also, but the most usage that these artifacts have are record keepers. This is why he himself has felt negative impressions from them and positive impressions from them. In China, there was a species that came down called the Daropa, and they were the ones that carried some of these stones with them. They did not invent them, you see. They introduced them to some of the Oriental peoples at the time, and the ones that landed mixed blood with those people. Some of them were more aligned with Orion interests and others with more benevolent. There was a split between those two peoples, and they recorded history vastly different, you see. Some sided some of your native elementals, and some sided those they originally worked for, which were the Orion contingencies and other magical Cassiopeian contingencies as well at the time. These stones carry the records of both clashing histories. This is why they have a strange energy that he's sensed around them.
Very interesting. Yeah, I thought that these Dropa stones, they're all elaborate. They have a very mystical, or not even just these Dropa stones, but many other oops artifacts have a very mysterious origin and maybe even function. Who knows what they could do. What message you want to leave everybody on how we can learn from some of these historical artifacts and what we could do maybe with modern science today?
Well, such as the Dropa stones, those are dimensional in nature. You can learn a lot about your earthly history from it and galactic history, from since they are record keepers. You can learn a lot from these, just seeing these very what seem like mundane details. You see, as he likes to say, the most mundane detail speaks the greatest volumes. In this, even if it's something that's even slightly out of place, or seems slightly out of place to you, can speak the greatest volumes about your own histories, both galactic and personal, as well as earthly histories and soul histories, you see. The message I want to bring forth is always be observant of the environment around you. Always look into these things and do not always gravitate towards a complete, what you think is a set standard or a template that is usually an illusionary foundation by which certain civilizations were formed and or oppressed within, very much like what you're experiencing now. People are beginning to see the true face of the enemy that is out there. In this, look at the positive side of it by seeing your own histories with an unbiased set of eyes, unbiased vision, and you will see the real histories that took place. Shed certain religious schisms and different type of what you consider to be scientific facts. Set that aside. Be unbiased. You will see the true history glaring you in the face, literally, in this case. So thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, that was interesting.
I like it.
Yeah, I looked into those. What he was referring to is I looked into those Dropa stones at one point.
I was just going to say the Dropa stones. Yeah.
I looked into that one time and I saw these weird symbols and stuff popping up that seemed almost holographic in nature. And I could see different emblems representing different people and different ideas and everything. So I knew they were record keepers in some fashion.
And like you're saying, that's why I thought like the mysterious functions of certain, things. What's its function? Record keeping.
Yeah, essentially, like we have discs, like CDs,
like floppy disk or and CDs and things of that nature.
Like when I told people about the discs that I had to get rid of with all the negative records of different energies and stuff like that. The same goes with those. I was detecting both negative and positive records on those as well, and different histories. And I was seeing it in a holographic fashion where the letters raised up out of it. Different civilizations in the galaxy have that capability. And interestingly enough, some of the newer races or newer descendants of some of the galactics that exist now don't even have some of the technology their ancestors did as well, like the Dropa stones themselves. They're actually trying to bring that back into their own culture, very much like we have to relearn our history as well. It's happening all over the galaxy. The same thing is.
Interesting. Can you think of anything else? I know there's many more objects out there, and we tried to do a roundup of them, but I think we covered a lot of the main ones. There's so much out there, it's hard to wrap it all up in an hour, but we try to cram pack as much information in as possible. I know there's a few objects I want to talk about. We're just going to have to save them for another time.
Oh, yeah, that would be an episode in and of itself. I can't think of anything. So if you want to take it out, Aubrey.
Yeah, I believe so. I hope everybody's been doing good. Hopefully we're done playing Pandemic here soon. We're going to get a real fun episode lined up for you this next time. And hopefully you learned a lot today. Hopefully we sparked your interest with some ancient mysteries and some ancient objects that you haven't heard about, or if you have, hopefully you learned something new about them. But until next time, I hope you guys stay healthy, stay grand, and we will see you then. You are now leaving the conspiracy sector. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Adios.